Stop. Before you say another word to her, I need you to hear something most men never figure out. Not in their 20s, not in their 40s, not ever. You've been told your whole life that women want to be told they're beautiful. That the right move is to lead with what you notice. The way she looks, the way she carries herself, the way the light catches something in her face. You've been told that complimenting a woman on her appearance is attentive, that it's romantic, that it's what separates the men who get the girl from the men who go home alone. And the reason this advice has survived for so long is simple. It's partially true. Women do want to feel seen. Women do want to feel desired. But here's what nobody tells you. And this is the part that changes everything once you actually understand it. What a woman wants to feel seen for is almost never what you're complimenting her on. When you walk up to a woman and your very first move is to comment on her eyes, her smile, her figure, you're not doing something wrong. You're just doing something that makes you disappear. You become indistinguishable from the last 12 men who said the same thing, with the same look on their face, at the same angle. The compliment lands, she smiles politely, says thank you, and in her mind, you've already left the room. Not because she didn't notice it, but because it told her absolutely nothing about you, and nothing specific about her. There is a version of verbal attraction that operates on a completely different level than appearance. It activates something deeper in the female brain, something that research in social cognition and mate selection has been quietly documenting for decades. And the 5 phrases I'm about to walk you through aren't pickup lines. They're not clever scripts. They are expressions of genuine psychological insight, delivered with presence and precision. That distinction matters more than anything else in this video. So stay with me, because phrase number 4 is the one that consistently breaks men open in the comments, and by the time we get there, you'll understand exactly why. Phrase 1. That's a specific kind of confidence. Picture this. You're at a dinner party, a work event, maybe just a bar on a slow Thursday night. You notice her, not just her appearance, but the way she's moving through the room. She's not performing for anyone. She's not scanning the room for approval. She knows exactly where she's going. She knows who she wants to talk to. And she's completely comfortable in the silence between conversations. Most men see that and say something about how she looks. You're gorgeous. You have an incredible presence. And she hears it. And she files it away under things men say, and she moves on. But what you just witnessed isn't appearance. It's a behavioral signature. A very specific kind of social composure that not everyone has, and that she has almost certainly worked to develop. Saying, that's a specific kind of confidence to a woman who moves like that, does 3 things simultaneously that a physical compliment can't touch. First, it signals that you were watching her behavior, not just her body. Second, it implies you've seen enough of the world to recognize that this kind of confidence is rare. Third, it invites her to tell you where it came from, which means she's now talking about something real, something personal, something she cares about. Research out of the University of Kansas found that perceived attentiveness, the feeling of being genuinely observed rather than superficially noticed, is one of the strongest early predictors of romantic interest in women, particularly in women over 40. Not attractiveness, not humor, attentiveness. When she feels seen for something specific and behavioral, something she chose and cultivated, the chemical response in her brain is fundamentally different from the response to a generic appearance compliment. Consider what happened with a man named David, 63, who came to this kind of understanding after years of leading with looks. He'd spent decades watching women smile politely and drift away. The moment he started commenting on how a woman was operating rather than how she looked, the conversations changed entirely. She stopped being a woman he was trying to impress. She started being a person he was actually curious about. And she felt that distinction immediately. Don't say it unless you mean it. Don't deploy it as a line. When you notice something specific in how she moves, how she handles herself, how she relates to the people around her, that's when the phrase earns its weight. A compliment about appearance tells her you have eyes. A compliment about behavior tells her you are actually paying attention. Those are not the same thing. Phrase 2. You just said something I want to come back to. Here's what women, particularly women who are intelligent, self-possessed, and interesting, report experiencing more than almost anything else in male-female conversation. They say something meaningful, and the man keeps moving. He nods, or he half responds, or he pivots to something about himself. And the thing she said, the real thing, the layered thing, just evaporates. Most men are waiting for their turn to talk. Genuinely good listeners are rare enough that women comment on them the way people comment on exceptional weather. Unexpectedly, gratefully, a little disbelievingly. You just said something I want to come back to is not a technique. It's a complete reorientation of how you're showing up in a conversation. When you say this, you're communicating that you have the self-regulation to hold a thread while something else unfolds, that you're tracking multiple dimensions of what she's saying at once, and that what she said mattered enough to mark. That is not a small thing. Dr. John Gottman's decades of research on couple dynamics, research that has been replicated across multiple countries and age groups, identifies what he calls turning toward as one of the primary predictors of relationship depth and satisfaction. When someone signals that your words are worth returning to, you don't just feel heard. You feel chosen. You feel like the conversation is actually happening, not just being performed. Now pause here for a second, because this next part is important. If you find yourself in conversations where you're not sure what to say next, where you feel like you're always slightly behind, there's a resource linked in the first comment below that goes deep on exactly this. Conversation intelligence, not just attraction tactics. Men who've used it describe a fundamental shift in how women engage with them after the first 10 minutes. Check it out when you're done here. The phrase works precisely because it's vulnerable in a direction most men never go. It admits that you were affected by something she said. It admits you weren't just waiting for your turn. And for a woman who is accustomed to men talking at her rather than with her, that admission lands like oxygen in a room that didn't know it was running out of air. Phrase 3. You're someone who takes things seriously. This one requires a little more precision, because it can be misread if delivered wrong. The word seriously in common usage sometimes carries a negative connotation. Too intense, too heavy, not fun. That's not what this phrase is doing. Used correctly, it's one of the most powerful things you can say to a woman who has substance. Think about who this phrase is for. It's for the woman who, when you ask about her work, doesn't give you the one-sentence polite answer and redirect. She tells you something real about why it matters to her. It's for the woman who has opinions that she can actually defend. The woman who has built something, even quietly, even privately, that she cares about deeply. She takes things seriously, and in a culture that constantly asks women to be lighter, to be less, to make things more comfortable for the room, being recognized for taking things seriously is recognition that almost no one offers. What this phrase does, physiologically, is interesting. A study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that when individuals feel recognized for a core identity trait, rather than a surface characteristic, activity in the brain's reward circuitry is measurably higher and longer lasting than recognition for appearance. Being told you're beautiful is processed and filed. Being told something true about who you are activates the part of the brain that says, "This person sees me." For a woman who has spent time in relationships where she felt her depth was inconvenient, this phrase can land with a weight she won't entirely expect. She may not be able to articulate why the conversation felt different afterward, but she'll remember it. And she'll remember you as the person who made her feel recognized for the part of herself she most wants to be recognized for. There's a direct line in this conversation that I want to pick up on later, something we covered 2 items ago about attentiveness. It connects here. The men who can deploy this phrase authentically are the same men who were actually watching. You don't arrive at this phrase through strategy. You arrive at it through genuine observation. Phrase 4. I wasn't expecting that from you, and I mean that as the highest compliment. Stay with me on this one because this is the phrase that changes the entire dynamic of how she experiences you. Every woman who has ever been in a social setting, a bar, a professional event, a dinner, a first date, has a version of herself that she deploys for strangers. It's not fake, it's just safe. It's the edited version, the version that doesn't lead with anything too specific or too unusual or too real, because most strangers can't handle it and most strangers aren't worth the investment. The moment she says something from outside that edited version, something unexpected, something specific, something that reveals a corner of how she actually thinks, most men either don't notice or they redirect. The conversation stays at the surface. She returns to the safe version, and the evening ends with everyone intact, and nothing actually happened. I wasn't expecting that from you. And I mean that as the highest compliment is the verbal signal that you caught it. That you were actually present enough to notice the gap between the social version and the real thing. And that you liked what you found on the other side of it. For women, particularly women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond who have learned to be selective about where they spend their depth. This is not a small recognition. Research in adult social cognition suggests that one of the primary unmet needs in midlife social experience, for both men and women, is the feeling that the self you actually carry, with its complexity, its contradictions, its specific texture, has been genuinely encountered. Not just seen, but met. A man named Raymond, 67, described the first time he said a version of this phrase to a woman he'd been having dinner with. He said the conversation shifted physically. She sat differently. She stopped performing the social ease she'd been performing all evening, and they ended up talking for 3 more hours about things neither of them had said out loud in years. He said afterward, "It was the first time I understood that what women want isn't someone to tell them they're beautiful. It's someone who can tell them they're specific." That word, specific, is what this phrase delivers at its highest level. You didn't just notice her. You noticed something in her that doesn't belong to everyone. That distinction, once a woman feels it, is something appearance compliments can never replicate. Phrase 5. There's something about the way you hold your ground quietly. This is the final phrase, and it's the subtlest. It's also, in many ways, the most sophisticated signal a man can send in conversation, because it requires actual perceptiveness to deploy honestly, and women who are worth pursuing will know the difference between someone who means it and someone who memorized it. Here's the scene. You're in conversation with a woman, and at some point, someone, maybe you, maybe someone at the table, maybe the situation itself, pushes slightly against something she believes. Nothing hostile. Just the ordinary friction of differing views, competing ideas, small social pressures. And she doesn't fold. She doesn't become aggressive either. She just holds her ground, quietly, without making it a scene. That is not a small thing. That is a very specific expression of inner architecture. And almost nobody names it. The ability to hold a position without either collapsing or escalating is one of the rarest qualities in adult social life. Researchers studying conflict avoidance and emotional regulation in interpersonal settings have found that what they call quiet assertiveness is both genuinely rare and consistently rated as one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess, across gender, across age, across culture. When you say, "There's something about the way you hold your ground quietly," you are naming something she may never have had named for her. You're telling her that you are watching. Not her body, not her performance, but her character in a moment that most people don't even register. You're telling her that what she does when she's not trying to impress anyone is the thing you actually found most interesting. Before you close this out, something I want to put in front of you. There's a full breakdown in the first comment below, one that goes deeper into the psychological mechanics of what we covered today. It's written specifically for men who are in the second half of their lives, and want to understand the attraction dynamics that nobody ever handed them a map for. It's worth your time. The link is right there, and this is where everything in this video converges, because all 5 phrases have one thing in common. Not cleverness, not technique, not psychological manipulation. Every single one of them requires that you were actually present, that you were watching the real person in front of you. Not what she looks like, but how she operates, how she thinks, how she handles herself, what she reveals when she doesn't know anyone's taking notes. The men who have the most powerful connections with women aren't the most attractive men in the room. They aren't the smoothest talkers. They are the men who learned, usually late, usually the hard way, that a woman doesn't fall for the man who tells her she's beautiful. She falls for the man who makes her feel specific. Like she's not just another face in a room full of faces, but a particular person with a particular inner life that he actually saw. There's a shift that happens in a man when he internalizes this. It's not a shift in tactics. It's a shift in what he's actually looking for when he's in a room with someone he finds interesting. He stops scanning for what to say. He starts paying attention to what she's actually doing, how she moves through discomfort, what she cares about when nobody's watching, what surfaces when the polished version softens for a second. And when he sees those things, he has something to say that no other man in that room can say. Because no other man was watching for it. The 5 phrases in this video are not a script. They're a framework for a completely different way of being in conversation with women. A way that respects both of you. A way that treats her like a person worth understanding, not just a person worth impressing. And that distinction, I'll say it plainly, is felt immediately. Every time. I want to leave you with a real question before you go, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments. Do you think men today are getting better or worse at actually paying attention to women in conversation? Not at attracting them, at actually listening, actually noticing, actually being present? I have my own answer, but I'd rather hear yours first. Comments on this channel are some of the most honest conversation I find anywhere. Don't hold back. And if this video reached you at a moment where it landed differently than expected, share it. Not as advice, just as something worth thinking about. Sometimes a video finds a man at exactly the right time. Be that for someone.